NEET 2024 has recorded the highest ever registrations with a whopping 24 lakh students applying for the exam. And they are a very worried lot. In fact, Shreyanshi Thakur has filed a petition in Delhi High Court. And so has a PIL been filed in Calcutta High Court, among several other concerns, including allegations of irregularities raised by scores of students and their parents, as well as the opposition. Let me break down what the allegations of the irregularities are, at least the main ones, depending upon the petitions which have been filed in the court, as well as students, what they are claiming. Concerns over inflated cutoffs, especially as some candidates obtained exceptionally high marks, including 718 despite the marking scheme's constraints. Let me explain this to you. According to the marking scheme, each right answer gets 4 marks, which is 180 questions multiplied by 4, equal to a grand total of 720. So if you answer all questions right, you will get 720 marks. Now, here's the catch. For every wrong answer, 1 mark will be deducted. So let us assume you have answered 179 out of 180 questions, right? Now, 179 into 4 is 716. And then there will be a -1 for that 1 wrong answer, taking the total to 715. So if you answer 2 questions wrong, your score will further decline below 715. So technically, there is no possibility of a score of 717, 718 or 719. Now, while the National Testing Agency has claimed that these marks are due to the compensatory marks or the grace marks which were given, which by itself, frankly, has been contested by petitioners, students in court as well. Now, what is this issue of grace marks or compensatory marks? Let me break this down for you as well, because it is important to the whole story. In the NEET UG exams held in May, it was observed that in question number 29 of test booklet R5, the answers mentioned in both options, that's 2 options that were given in the questions 2 and 4, are considered correct. This was contrary to the exam instructions, which stated that only 1 option would be correct for each multiple choice questions. Given the discrepancy, the NTA, which is the National Testing Agency, decided to award marks to all the students who chose either of the alleged correct answers, thereby benefiting those who guessed an answer or marked the answer they thought was right. It is the petitioner's case that the National Testing Agency's decision discriminates against candidates who adhered to the instructions and did not mark an answer for the question number 29, since it had 2 correct answers and they knew this, according to Bar and Bench. Now, the Delhi and the Calcutta courts have sought for a response from the National Testing Agency, and frankly, the country is waiting for a response from the National Testing Agency. 3-4 students usually would score a perfect score of 720 out of 720, according to industry experts and coaching institutes as well. But this time, over 67 students seem to have scored the perfect 720 out of 720. National Testing Agency claims this is because of the record number of aspirants in 2024. However, if you compare 2023 with 2024, there's at least an increase of 4 lakh aspirants. But still, if you compare the 60 plus perfect scores to the 3 to 4 perfect scores in the previous year, it's absolutely disproportionate. And then you have a very peculiar case where 6 students of the same center in Haryana's Jhajjar secured top ranks, including 4 of them getting rank number 1 and others getting other top ranks as well. Now, Rajiv Mehta, a user on social media, posted screenshots of the roll numbers and ranks, which is of course out in public, alleging that how could there be 6 All India rank 1s, including rank number 1s, multiple of them, from one center itself, when there are 4,100 exam centers across 550 cities. But it's not just parents and students raising these allegations, including demands to reconduct the exams and an overhaul of the system. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra took to X and said, many irregularities are coming to the fore. Children are dying by suicide after results. Why is the government ignoring lakhs of students? Students want clarity on the rigging of results. Isn't it government's responsibility to resolve this? Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has said that the NEET results vindicate our position or our opposition to NEET paper leaks. He said clustering of toppers at specific centers, mathematically impossible scores awarded, are just pitfalls of centralization that has been exposed, and there must be preeminence of state governments in deciding admissions to professional courses and the future. Other entrance exams are anti-poor. They undermine federal polity. Let's eradicate this malady, is what MK Stalin has claimed. Unfortunately, we reached out to the Centre and the National Testing Agency for their representation or an explanation, but we've received no response. At this point, let me introduce you to my panel. I'm being joined by RS Pathania, who's a spokesperson for BJP, Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, who's a spokesperson for Congress, Advocate Adv AS Sahai, who's a president for India-wide Parents Association, Saurabh Pant, who's an academic director for Sri Goshalities Medical Academy in Vijayawada, and Gomedhikam Nayan, who's a UG NEET aspirant. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Let me just go across at this point to Gomedhikam Nayan. Thank you for joining us. Even as this entire issue unfolds, what really is in your mind as you're preparing? Have you taken this previous examination, Gomedhikam?
Yes, ma'am.
So you've taken the previous examination.
Yes,
right now, what are the issues that are before you? What are your big concerns?
So, grace marks were awarded because let us say the person has started with bio and which might be a strong subject, and then attempted physics, not have attempted physics and chemistry due to the time loss. So by the accuracy in bio, you cannot judge his marks in physics and chemistry because every subject is not the same, and also every question is not the same, because some people are good in bio, some are good in physics, some are good in chemistry. So the concept of grace marks itself, I would say, is not correct.
Okay, so what exactly? One is the issue of grace marks and about how there seem to have been two options that were correct for that one question. That is, of course, one aspect. How do you also look at the other allegations that are emerging? Do you have concerns about the ranks that have emerged? Do you have concerns, any other concerns that have emerged in this particular case? Or are you willing to go ahead and prepare for this same system again?
Yes, this year ranks were of course surprising because in comparison to last year, where there were almost 350, 700, 700s and only two 720s. This year, almost 2,200 students got 700 and plus, and 67 students got 720. Uh, because the level of the paper is uh, average, and I would say uh, almost the out of 1,500 students who were awarded with the grace marks, if 6 students were getting 720 out of 720, the others would have been in the range of 700 to 720, which might have cause the clustering between in that marks range. That is why there is so much of clustering. And also, if we are not getting the top medical colleges with even a great score, 700 is a great score, and we are not getting the top medical colleges now because of that score. So I would say a re-exam for those candidates who have been awarded with the grace marks would be a better option, because after 1 month we have lost touch with the subjects and all. So again, preparing for a re-NEET bit of the 1500 students who have been awarded with the grace marks can be conducted a re-NEET. That would be my request.
Okay, so you don't want a complete, you don't want the exams to be reconducted all over again. Okay, fair enough. Now, if you have, are you preparing to take this exam again, or are you okay with your score and you're moving with whatever will be allocated for you?
I would say if there is a confirmation by the NTA and the court that there was paper leakage at some places, and also unfair means and all, I would say re-NEET for everyone. But if it is confirmed that there was no paper leakage and there is the exam took place in the best possible way, then I would say re-NEET would not be a good option.
Gomedhikam, but what about you? Have you started preparing again, because there is no clarity right now from NTA, or are you on a wait and watch mode? Are you worried? Is this stressful for you, or you're like, okay, let's see how it comes?
Yeah, if there is no response in the next 2 or 3 days, I would definitely start preparing.
Right. Thank you very much. Stay on with us. Let me also get other panelists as well. Saurabh Pant, if I can come to you. We've heard a
Yes,
NEET
ma'am.
aspirant speak right now. He's just one. There are scores of others who are there across the country, very worried about what's going to happen in the next few days, what's going to be the NTA results. And then you, of course, have a huge concern over instances of death by suicide as well. What are the biggest concerns at this point?
So, ma'am, the things that the nation has to address at this point of time is that these 25 lakh candidates are there on one side. And let's say a candidate is there in a state of, let's say, Andhra Pradesh, where the cutoff was last year around 550, and they scored 600 marks. And NEET examination, as you might be knowing, has no age bar. Like people can attempt as many number of times as they want. So someone prepare for 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 years also prepare for this examination. It's because very less medical seats are there. So with the mindset of a student, like he was saying that somewhere around 700 marks he has got, Nayan, for instance. So with 700 mindset, your family, your society is already thinking that you are the topper and you will get a good aims. And all of a sudden, this high rank has come. So the kind of instance that you are mentioning, this 16, 17-year students are not prepared for all this shock all of a sudden. Because cutoff can increase by 20 marks, 30 marks, that's okay. But how can the cutoff increase by 60, 70 marks all of a sudden? 60, 70 marks is like half the weightage of chemistry or half the weightage of physics in the NEET examination. That much inflation in the cutoff has happened. Second thing is, when we go in the deeper reasons of why this would have happened, paper leak is one thing that is circulating in the country, and obviously the Honorable Supreme Court will decide over it probably when the cases are getting filed. Hopefully the cases are getting filed. Second concern is how all of a sudden, without any affidavit, without any idea about the scenarios that could have happened in case the time loss is there, because not the first instance this year only that the time loss has happened. Let me tell you, every year, at least hundreds of students are complaining about the time loss. All of a sudden, this year only, they have come for a conclusion that we will be awarding the grace marks. And by what logic? Grace marks are getting awarded. A student is there of 636 marks in the OMR sheet. Recently, I was seeing her OMR sheet. She got 720. Means you are bubbling the questions of 636 marks. Remaining questions you don't know. And because your accuracy was 100%, you got awarded 720 marks. That one
Okay.
question that you are talking about, physics question, is not
Okay.
such a big issue because 44 people are there. But 1563 students at this cluster, 700 to 720, might be sitting around at least 1,000 students who are inflating the rank a lot. So the main concern is without telling the rules of the game, you cannot just suddenly change. It's not a local examination that I'm conducting for a local institute. It's a national level examination. The accountability of NTA is not there. You should be information brochure is getting released in the month of February. They are not mentioning the tiebreaker
Okay.
criteria over there.
Okay.
Then they are using application number as a tiebreaker criteria. For all these 720 students, 50 medical seats in open category are there in AIMS Delhi. That means after scoring 720, also the student will not get the seat in AIMS Delhi. And there was no tiebreaker criteria. And after
Okay.
releasing the result,
All
you are
right.
making a tiebreaker criteria over there. That application number we will consider. So if I'm a villager, I have a slow internet
Okay.
connection, and I
Okay.
fill the form later,
Okay.
I will get a lower rank.
Okay, all right. Let me go across to others as well at this point. Also, if you can have the response of the National Testing Agency up on our screens, you have we'll have the graphics, and you can see that because we reached out to NTA and we reached out to other officials as well, bureaucrats as well. But there's nobody who's come out with a response. I'm being joined by RS Pathania right now, who's a spokesperson for BJP. RS Pathania, you've heard just a
Please,
couple of concerns right now. There are others as well on our panel.
please.
Why is it so difficult at this point when there are so many concerns? Why is it so difficult for a government official to just come out and explain this and allay the fears?
Yes. Sneha, first of all, thanks for raising a very, very genuine issue and a concern, which virtually pivots around the wishes and virtually the doubts prevailing over the student community across the country. If we go by the menace of paper leaks, it was witnessed in Rajasthan. 26 paper leaks in Ashok Gehlot Sarkar. And ultimately, Bharatiya Janata Party had ultimately enacted a central and a very foolproof law on it. That is the Public Examinations Act 2024 to prevent unfair means in all such practices. So, first of all, let us be very clear and categoric that we believe in fullest and foolproof transparency and peak professionalism in conducting these papers. Now, so far as these issues are concerned,
So,
we are
I
still
mean, well said.
a one government
And
has
I'm
been
not
resolved.
doubting all the efforts which have been taken, RS Pathania, sir. I'm not doubting. I'm sure the measures that you have taken exist. We all know that. My question is, what we are discussing today and what is unfolding is far from transparency. So I can't have you claim that on the show.
So, Sneha, my respectful submission remains that the National Testing Agency has come out with we could call it an interim response, whereby they have virtually denied the allegations of paper leak or favoritism. They have relied upon two considerations. First of all, the grace marks, and that even they were in pursuance to various High Court petitions launched by a bunch of students, and a total of 1,563 students they have been compensated with grace marks for loss of the examination paper time. And secondly, an answer key has been revised. Secondly, and thirdly, the ACE competition and a greater number of candidates, they've come out with three factors. Now, the High Courts, the Calcutta and Delhi High Court, they are seized of the matter. I think the National Testing Agency will come out with a response. And the maxim goes, the churning is always for the nectar to rise. I said one government has been dissolved, other government is about to take over. And we stand committed to, I
All
said,
right. Okay.
fullest foolproof transparency in the conduct of these NEET exams. Every and each iota of doubt shall be dispelled, will be dispelled. And the maxim remains, justice should not only be done, it should
It's
appear to
high
have been done.
time.
So the
Actually, it's
students
high time. Between elections, it just seems students' futures really seem to be at stake. There are lots of concerns at this point, and there is no official response. The little official response that has come does explain that there were marks that were given because of grace marks, and that's why. But then there are so many unanswered questions that students themselves are raising. Because I went to RS Pathania, let me just quickly go across to Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, who's a spokesperson for Congress. From Congress, to the DMK, to several other political parties, they have raised the concerns today. What is your primary demand at this stage? Because let's be frank. Now, for example, if you're talking about state governments having the final say, or the state government should have a final say, which one of the parties has gone ahead and answered, that again is not an answer, because we have seen engineering institutes mushroom in states with very, very poor quality. So what is the political point of the opposition at this point?
First of all, I would like to raise the importance of this issue. 24 lakh students have written this exam. It's a matter of their future. I'm not saying all 24 would have gotten into medical schools, but you know, they will lose the trust on the system, and they're going to carry this hostility throughout their life if these concerns are not addressed. I'm really sad that the BJP spokesperson did not address any of the concerns raised by either the aspirant or the education expert who raised the concerns here. And neither did he, address any of the points that you made either. So first of all, the results were supposed to be out on 14th of July. All of a sudden, without even giving a hint about, the release of the result, they released it on 4th of June, which coincided with the election results, so that this news or whatever they're trying to cover up will get lost in the midst of election results, maybe. And then when we speak about these grace marks, you see any competitive exams, before awarding a grace marks, it has to be on the paper as to why and how much grace marks will be awarded in what case. If there is 45 minutes delay, how many grace marks has been awarded? Where is it in writing? On what basis have you awarded this grace marks? How can you just randomly give any marks? If it's your mistake, you have to come out, you have to contest, you have to, form a committee, decide on it, and make sure none of the students, none of them in this 24 lakh students have become victims of this scam. We honestly believe there is something bigger hidden, and a proper investigation should happen. And one of our alliance partners, DMK, they have always been totally outrightly opposing this NEET exam. And today,
Correct.
they're actually showing why this has been happening. And we all know among these 24 lakh students, majority of them are, lower middle class and poor families. They are from poor families and lower middle class families. We cannot play with their future. We cannot play with their
all right.
trust on this government and the system. They cannot carry this. They are the future of our country.
Okay.
So a proper investigation.
Let me just go across to,
and then
right, you've raised some important points. Let me just go across to others as well. Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, I was speaking to Bhavya Narasimhamurthy right now. She's raised some very important points. Advocate Adv Sahai, you represent Parents Association. At this point, one, of course, one really does think the kind of pressure that students have to go in, because results have come in and yet they don't know if their results are final. There seems to be no certainty. So that definitely being one part of it. This has been contested in courts as well right now. But what is it that are your primary concerns at this point, even as these allegations of irregularity emerge?
Thank you for having me on this show, and very serious issue which you are raising. I think most of the media should raise, but unfortunately not everyone is talking about this. Everyone is talking about the election results and all, but future of our country, our children, that is more important. So see, more major concerns which students are raising, and I have been following up with and contacting in touch with several students and teachers also, is that first is the paper leak thing, which NTA is denying. Though NTA is denying, they have never given any clarification why they are denying. They have not given any justification, even though arrests have been made in Bihar. So whether Bihar police, whatever Bihar police has done is wrong, so action should be taken against Bihar police for arresting students if there was no paper leak. If NTA is denying, then there should be a CBI inquiry why NTA officials are denying. Now they have constituted their own committee and come up with this grace mark and other concerns which students have raised. They have sorted it out on their own way. But we demand that there should be a committee which should be constituted either by CBI or some other agencies, not NTA. Because there might be chances that the officials in NTA or maybe staff who are in NTA department they may be involved in this whole scam, paper leak and the evaluation thing which is happening, and students getting same marks from one particular center. So definitely this calls for an investigation. Government must step in, education department and ministry, whenever it will be formed, we don't know, but at least Child Rights Commission can intervene, CBI can definitely intervene and conduct a proper investigation and inquiry and find out what is happening. And the students who have been given grace marks, they are, the NTA has given reference of a High Court, Supreme Court order of 2018, but they have not applied that in toto. The Supreme Court order very clearly says that if you're giving grace marks, then those students will be evaluated, should be evaluated separately. Their mark list should not be mixed with the merit list of, the merit list should not be mixed with the merit list of other students. And ad hoc seat it should be created in all the institutes. So that has not been done by the NTA.
So,
whether they
Advocate Anubha, while you're
declaring...
raising these issues, let me ask you this question. Is your concern around the current exam that's just happened, or do you have concerns over the way the NEET is conducted by and large? I mean, is it specific to just this exam that has happened, or is it a more systemic concern that you're reflecting?
I'm concerned about the system because this is happening every year. Every year you will see that NEET paper leak and other things are happening. It's not only about NEET paper leak, even there are discrepancy in OMR sheets. We are raising concern, we are raising voice why OMR sheets copy of OMR sheets are not being provided. That is, answer sheets are not being provided at the exam center just after the exam, because every year students are raising voice. They are opposing that, no, we have given exam properly and we have almost our score would be around 500 and we have attempted so many questions, and the OMR sheet which is being provided by NTA on their website that does not match with our score. So why there is no transparency since the exam happens? So I'm raising this voice because the whole system needs a transparency. Though as far as DMK is concerned, I'm not okay with whatever they are saying. NEET should be scrapped.
Important points for sure. But before I just go across to Mr. Pathania to respond to you.
Please.
Yeah.
You see,
you're saying this should not be scrapped. You're making an important... No, hold on. Sorry, there seems to be a time delay and therefore the confusion. Advocate Anubha Srivastava, you're making an important point. Just finish that sentence, just that sentence. What are you saying?
Yeah. I'm saying NEET should not be scrapped. It's a very good decision by the central government, which they have come up. We really welcome this step, NEET. Pan India One exam is helping a lot of students across India. Even poor students are getting benefited. Only demand is there has to be a transparency.
Okay.
Right,
let me just get in the other side at this point. All right. No, you've made the point. Saurabh Pant, if you could just come in. Do you agree with what the panelist has just said? She's saying, don't scrap NEET. Don't do away with NEET. Just ensure that it's done the right way. Do you have an issue with the way NEET is done, with the whole system of NEET, or are you just largely worried about how it's implemented, particularly in the last exams as well?
See, the problem in the NEETs are recurring. It's not like it's first time the problem has come. In 2016, two NEETs happened, phase 1 and phase 2. Same in 2018, somewhere around that. Same problem was there before NEET. AIPMT was there. Paper leaks used to happen in AIPMT also. It was a massive movement which gained a lot of attention at that time as well. So at least we are having a single examination throughout a country. We should not be going back in that era where 50-60 forms has to be filled to get a seat in one examination. And because of that, many seats will become empty as well. Because if I get an admission in X college by one counseling, I will get the admission in Y college also. Then one of the seat of medical college will be empty. This should not be, the money of the taxpayer should not be wasted. Transparency, as ma'am has said, which is largely missing. They are creating the rules overnight, and especially this year, they have done a large number of blunders, not just one. I can count on fingers 5 big blunders that they have done, which is not acceptable at any level throughout the country. So it's not about the NEET examination in general, but this year they have done bigger blunders than they were doing before.
All right. Okay, RS Pathania, 30 seconds, and then to Bhavya also for 30 seconds. RS Pathania, your 30 seconds starts now. What do you respond to the two very important panelists at this point, where they have very clearly said NEET's problem is recurring? It's not just this last exam. It seems to be a recurring problem, and that's just not getting fixed. They may not be against NEET per se, unlike what some of the opposition parties are claiming, but there seems to be a recurring problem which is not getting fixed.
Neha, the adage remains, you cannot pour crimson medicine into the pond just to kill a few insects. So NEET is a wonderful and a trailblazing concept. It needs to be protected, preserved, and propagated with full vehemence and command. It is really a revolutionary concept. Whatsoever the concerns the learned advocate has raised, I am hopeful the courts are seized of the matter and everything will be thrashed out in detail. And thirdly, with regard to the CBI inquiry, let me put out one thing for the knowledge of each and everybody on board, that in Jammu and Kashmir, there were complaints of paper leakage in sub-inspector scam and then JEE, that examination. Both the cases were referred to CBI.
No. Let's not get all of that, sir.
My
And this is not only about paper leaks. No. Let's not get into this. No. Let's not get. They are very two different things. NEET is an all-India examination with massive ramifications.
Please.
No, it has nothing to do with NEET at all, sir.
Please,
but nonetheless, Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, your 30 seconds.
First of all, I would like to tell BJP spokesperson, by giving examples of other corruption scandals, you cannot justify this one. Correct? The student here, one of our panelists is a student. He's watching, and he needs to get some kind of trust on us. We need to give him some trust instead of just justifying what has happened here. That a proper probe will happen, a proper investigation will happen, and whatever decision, whatever is good for these 24 lakh people and their future, that kind of decision will be taken. That should be your first line, is what I believe. And if you all know, there was this revolutionary bill brought about by the previous Rajasthan government under CM Mr. Gehlotji, where such paper leaks, so OMR, this thing, and one second, let me please finish. Please. So where they were given like crores of rupees as fine, whoever has been caught in such paper leaks and manipulation of marks, and even imprisonment for that matter. So whatever happens in this NEET, once the investigation happens and the perpetrators are...
Okay, we seem to have some issue with the connection, but Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, to be frank, the way one of the reasons for the big downfall of the Gehlot government for that was the severe paper leaks that really happened in Rajasthan. I'm just mentioning that because you raised that particular issue. But nonetheless, RS Pathania as well as Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, both of you are making some very important points. But there is no response at all from NTA at this point, explaining the different questions that have been raised, barring some of the points that they have mentioned. Advocate Adv Sahai, as well as Saurabh Pant and Gomedhikam Nayan, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for sparing your time. We just hope that this has been one small effort from us to ensure that this entire issue is brought out to the people, and hopefully we'll hear something very soon on this. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll bring you the latest on Late Night Edition.